bibliophiles in those Raising Bibliophiles. Without ratings and warning labels, knowing which books are appropriate for your children to read is like navigating wild terrain without a map and a compass. I don't know about you, but I have been burned more than once handing my child a book that I thought was clean and appropriate for them to read. I'm a fellow mom, educator, reading specialist, and literary enthusiast trying to find great books for my children and yours to read. So if you are looking for a real review from a mom with a biblical worldview, then welcome and enjoy this week's book review. So this week's book review is The Biggest Fake in the Universe, and this is a middle grade fiction novel by Swedish author Johan Rundberg and translated by Eva Appelquist. I'm sure that I am butchering her name. But in this particular story, Movitz is just an average teen, 13-year-old middle school student who loves chess, outer space, and his guinea pig, Domino. However, when he goes with his best friend Ruben to watch some local skateboarders, he falls in love with a mysterious girl, B, and she is one of the well-known skaters in Sweden for her kind of age group kind of thing. And to get her attention, Movitz decides to transform himself into a stellar skater, or at least he tries. But before long, his ruse goes a little bit too far, and Movitz has to make a very big decision. Before I go any further, I'm going to read just a little bit of the opening of this story to give you an idea of the writing style. This particular book has a little bit of a frame novel to it. So the chapter is titled A Rubber Skeleton. Have you ever been to the Stockholm suburb of Midsommarkrossen, or Kresen for short? Then you know that not much happens here. There's a park with a kiddie pool with little kids where little kids splash around in the summer, a few pizza restaurants, a small movie theater, not much more. In short, Krossen is a quiet place, almost too quiet. Exciting things rarely happen here. But on this particular day, something actually did happen. The highest skateboard ramp in Sweden was built in the park. I'm not going to pronounce that. I know I'm going to butcher it. I know it sounds totally crazy, but it's true. The carpenters worked for a week and the ramp was finished. Just like that, my part of town went from hick to cool. The park was packed. The floor hockey club was selling hot dogs and soda in a tent. There was even a television crew. They had spent all day running cords and setting up cameras. By the flower shop, there was a bus with a tall antenna, and important dudes were hurrying in and out of it. I have lived in Midsommarkrossen my entire life, and something like this had never happened before. There was a sudden crackling from the loudspeakers, and a voice boomed out over the park. The moment you've all been waiting for is here, the voice roared. I present to you the knight of the ramp, the brave of the board, the king of Kresen. Who's he talking about? I thought to myself. Then a cold shiver ran up my spine. He was talking about me. I was the one who was supposed to throw myself down the ramp and probably die right then and there. I stood alone in the very top, an abyss in front of me. Me, Movitz Lind, who can't even sleep on the top bunk. The ramp swayed a little in the wind. My body felt like one of those floppy rubber skeletons that people sometimes have on their keychains. I wished I were a wizard like Harry Potter. Then I could make myself disappear or hide under an invisibility cloak. But unfortunately, I was not a wizard. I was just Movitz, Mo for short. And nothing could save me now. And so that just gives you a little bit of the writing style as the novel opens. This middle grade novel is full of humor as a middle school boy kind of discovers love for the first time, and its warping effects as he tries to kind of change everything about himself to get closer to B, his love interest. The story opens with Movitz and his family kind of having this cozy breakfast when Ruben shows up inviting Movitz downtown to watch Ruben's brother and friend perform in a skateboarding competition. Unwilling to let him go along with friends, Movitz's family, like the whole family, attends with him, which includes his older sister, Jonah, and his younger sister, Bernie. So once encountering B at this dog bowl skateboarding event, Movitz is completely smitten, unable to eat. He can't think straight. He does insist that he is not in love until his neighbor Ingrid really encourages him otherwise. Ingrid is this like older lady neighbor who has a lot of gentleman friends. Movitz kind of considers her to be an expert on love. In their earlier encounter, she tells Movitz love doesn't follow rules. Sometimes it strikes like lightning and like wham, wham. She says, sometimes it grows slowly like a cactus in the desert. The only thing is certain, you have no control over it. And she says this to him on page 42. Then she also kind of goes on and tells him that he needs to listen to his heart. When you do, things usually turn out okay. So I just kind of want to draw attention to that a little bit, because families who are seeking a biblical worldview and stories that align with those types of messaging, then you kind of know that these are some things that don't align with Scripture. We know that Scripture tells us that the heart is deceitful above all else, and it's beyond cure, like not to trust your heart. And so you got to kind of be careful. It is a fun middle grade novel, but at the same time, it does have some dangerous messaging. The idea that you have no control over love, and that it strikes when it may. And, if you just follow your heart, everything generally is going to turn out okay. So we want to be careful with our young people, letting them know that they do have control over their affections, and what does and doesn't receive their affection. So nevertheless, once Movitz is determined to become a skater himself, Ruben, his best friend, is committed to joining him on this new adventure. It isn't long before the two of them are seeking lessons from Ruben's brother. And as they begin to hang out and learn from them, Movitz ends up in a recorded video where he does this like miraculous grind. But Movitz does it completely unintentionally. He's actually trying not to fall. So before he knows it, this video has been posted. It's gone viral. The local TV show Best in Class has recruited him for an upcoming video. And this event is where the story kind of opens at the beginning and it returns to later in the novel. So in the end, Movitz has no choice, but he ultimately confesses to the producers of Best in Class and to be that he is not this stellar skateboarder, and that he was kind of faking it the whole time. Fortunately, B likes Movitz for who he truly is and actually not for his skating ability. I really do encourage parents to go to my website at holdingsteadfastreaders.com. You're going to get a few more details about this book, particular quotes or mentions that I think are noteworthy, especially if you're a parent who's wanting to be more cautious about the reading material your children have access to. I definitely want to encourage you to kind of check that out. There is like one instance of a word that might, for some families, be considered profanity. Some other ones, maybe not, depending on each family. They're a little bit different. But the point of these reviews is to give you parents information so you can make that decision. I originally ordered this book because I really enjoyed the Moonwind series by this same author. And the premise of the book seemed kind of cute. I have to say though, like I wasn't overly impressed. I would probably put this on like my pass on reading pile. The chapters are short. They are fast paced. I still found it kind of difficult though for me to personally finish. So I take that for what it is. If you're looking for books that, do connect to biblical truth, then this is definitely going to be one that you maybe want to pass on. Again, go to my website at holdingsteadfastreaders.com to get a few more of those details. And I hope this information is helpful to you as parents as you are trying to decide what is and is not appropriate for your children to read. And I hope that you'll join me next week for another book review.